Welcome to Advanced English Mastery, the podcast where we delve deep into the sophisticated nuances of the English language. I'm your host, Olivia, and today we're embarking on a fascinating exploration of something that surrounds us constantly, yet often goes unnoticed: the hidden power structures embedded within our language. Language is never neutral. Every word choice, every grammatical construction, every pause and emphasis carries with it layers of meaning that extend far beyond surface-level communication. Today, we'll unpack how language shapes thought, reinforces social hierarchies, and can be wielded as both a tool of empowerment and a weapon of exclusion. We'll examine euphemisms in political discourse, analyze the subtle implications of passive voice in corporate communications, explore how code switching reflects and reinforces social dynamics, and investigate the phenomenon of linguistic gating you to become a more discerning consumer and producer of language, while simultaneously expanding your sophisticated vocabulary and analytical skills. Prepare to question assumptions you may have never even realized you held about the neutrality of communication. By the end of this hour, you'll possess a heightened awareness of language's covert influence and the analytical tools to decode its hidden messages. Let's begin with one of language's most insidious yet ubiquitous features: euphemism. Far from being mere politeness, euphemisms often serve to obscure uncomfortable truths, distance us from harsh realities, and maintain existing power structures. Political euphemisms, sanitizing reality. Consider how military and political language systematically removes human agency and suffering from discourse. Casualty collateral transforms civilian deaths into an abstract mathematical concept. Enhanced interrogation techniques obscures torture behind clinical terminology. Ethnic cleansing makes genocide sound like a hygienic necessity. These linguistic choices aren't accidental. They serve to make the unpalatable palatable, to create psychological distance between decision makers and consequences, and to manufacture consent for policies that might otherwise face moral scrutiny. Corporate euphemisms, the language of exploitation. The corporate world has elevated euphemism to an art form. Right-sizing and streamlining operations mask mass layoffs. Voluntary redundancy implies choice where often none exists. Restructuring disguises the dismantling of worker protections and benefits. Notice how these terms shift responsibility away from corporate executives and onto abstract market forces. Employees aren't fired by callous CEOs, they're casualties of inevitable economic evolution. This linguistic sleight of hand serves to legitimize decisions that prioritize profit over human welfare. The euphemistic treadmill. Linguist Steven Pinker coined the term euphemistic treadmill to describe how euphemisms gradually acquire the negative connotations of the words they replace, necessitating ever new circumlocutions. We've seen this with terms for mental illness, disability, and social class. Yesterday's sensitive language becomes today's offensive terminology, creating a perpetual cycle of linguistic innovation. Advanced vocabulary focus, obfuscation, and misdirection. Let's examine some sophisticated terms for describing these linguistic phenomena. Obfuscation, the practice of deliberately making something unclear or difficult to understand. Politicians excel at obfuscating their true intentions through carefully crafted ambiguity. Circumlocution, the use of many words where fewer would do, especially in a deliberate attempt to be vague. Corporate communications often employ circumlocution to avoid legal liability. Doublespeak, language that deliberately obscures, disguises, or reverses meaning. George Orwell's concept remains frighteningly relevant in contemporary discourse. Semantic bleaching, the process by which words lose their original meaning through overuse or misuse. Terms like awesome and literally have undergone significant semantic bleaching. Critical analysis exercise. Consider these contemporary euphemisms and their implications. Gig economy versus precarious employment. Smart cities versus surveillance capitalism. Disruption versus market destabilization. Optimization versus cost cutting. Each euphemistic term frames the same reality in ways that serve particular interests. The question becomes, whose interests are served by each framing?
Moving from lexical to grammatical manipulation, let's examine how sentence structure itself can obscure responsibility and agency. The passive voice, often maligned by writing instructors, serves crucial ideological functions in contemporary discourse. Agency deletion and responsibility avoidance. When we say, mistakes were made instead of, I made mistakes, we're not just changing grammar, we're fundamentally altering the assignment of responsibility. The passive voice allows speakers to acknowledge problems while avoiding accountability for their creation. This phenomenon permeates institutional communication. Police reports describe how shots were fired, rather than Officer Smith fired shots. Corporate statements announce that jobs will be lost, rather than we are eliminating positions. Medical discourse notes that the patient was not informed, rather than Dr. Jones failed to inform the patient. The passive voice in academic discourse. Interestingly, academic writing has traditionally favored passive construction for opposite reasons, to emphasize objectivity and remove personal bias. The experiment was conducted suggests universal validity rather than individual interpretation. However, this convention is increasingly questioned as scholars recognize that no research is truly objective, and passive voice can mask the researcher's role in shaping results. Media manipulation through grammar. News reporting provides fascinating examples of how grammatical choices reflect and reinforce bias. Compare these headlines. Police officer shoots unarmed teenager. Active voice, clear agency. Teenagers shot by police. Passive voice, reduced emphasis on police action. Teenager dies in police-involved shooting. Euphemism plus nominalization, maximum obfuscation. Each construction directs attention differently, influencing public perception of the same event. Advanced grammatical concepts. Nominalization, converting verbs and adjectives into nouns, often combined with passive voice to further obscure agency. The implementation of cost-saving measures versus management cut costs. Agentless passive, passive constructions that completely omit the agent, as in, decisions have been made, with no indication of who made them. Syntactic ambiguity, sentence structures that allow multiple interpretations, often exploited in legal and political contexts.
Language variation isn't just about regional accents or colloquialisms. It's a complex system of social signaling that both reflects and reinforces hierarchical structures. Code switching, the practice of alternating between different language varieties, reveals the intricate relationship between linguistic competence and social power. The standard language ideology. The concept of proper English rests on a foundation of social prejudice disguised as linguistic objectivity. What we term standard English is essentially the dialect of educated, middle to upper class speakers, particularly those from certain geographic regions. This variety gains prestige not through inherent linguistic superiority, but through its association with economic and political power. When speakers of non-standard varieties are deemed articulate, a term rarely applied to standard speakers, the implication is that their natural linguistic competence is somehow unexpected or noteworthy. This reveals the deeply embedded assumption that certain groups lack inherent communicative ability. Professional code switching. Observe how successful professionals from non-dominant backgrounds master the art of code switching, seamlessly transitioning between community vernacular and corporate speak. This linguistic dexterity represents a form of cultural navigation that dominant group speakers rarely need to develop. The psychological toll of constant code switching cannot be understated. It requires continuous self-monitoring, cultural translation, and often the suppression of authentic linguistic identity. The failure to code switch appropriately can result in professional marginalization, regardless of technical competence. Academic English as gatekeeping. Academic English is as gatekeeping as any other form of code switching. Higher education perpetuates linguistic stratification through the valorization of abstract, nominalized prose, often criticized as unnecessarily complex. Academic writing conventions, extensive subordination, Latin-derived vocabulary, impersonal tone serve to exclude those without extended formal education while creating an aura of intellectual authority. Consider how the same idea can be expressed with varying degrees of accessibility. Academic register. The implementation of comprehensive pedagogical interventions necessitates a systematic evaluation of pre-existing institutional frameworks. Plain language. To improve teaching methods effectively, we need to examine how schools currently operate. The academic version isn't more precise or intellectually rigorous. It's simply more exclusive. Linguistic capital and social mobility. Pierre Bourdieu's concept of linguistic capital helps explain how language competence translates into economic opportunity. Those who master prestige dialects gain access to elite networks, educational opportunities, and professional advancement. Meanwhile, speakers of stigmatized varieties face systematic discrimination disguised as meritocracy. This creates a paradox. Linguistic diversity is simultaneously celebrated as cultural richness and penalized as professional deficiency. Society pays lip service to multilingualism while consistently rewarding monolingual conformity to dominant standards. Sophisticated terminology for language variation. Diglossia. A situation where two distinct varieties of a language coexist, typically with one considered high and the other low in social prestige. Linguistic prestige. The social value attributed to particular language varieties, often correlating with speaker status rather than linguistic features. Hypercorrection. The overuse of prestigious forms, often resulting in grammatical errors, as speakers attempt to conform to perceived standards. Linguistic insecurity. The anxiety experienced by speakers who perceive their natural variety as inadequate or incorrect.
In our information-saturated age, the ability to project expertise through language has become increasingly crucial and increasingly manipulated. Let's examine how linguistic choices create impressions of authority, often independent of actual knowledge or qualification. The performance of expertise. Genuine expertise and the performance of expertise are distinct phenomena, though they often become conflated in public discourse. The linguistic markers of authority, technical vocabulary, measured delivery, abstract reasoning, can be adopted by those seeking to project competence they may not possess. Consider how certain speech patterns signal intellectual authority. The strategic pause, the qualifying phrase, "It's worth noting that," and the meta-commentary. Let me address that question on two levels. These rhetorical devices serve to position the speaker as thoughtful and authoritative, regardless of content quality. Jargon as exclusion and inclusion. Professional jargon serves a dual function. It enables precise communication among specialists while simultaneously excluding outsiders. Medical terminology, legal language, and academic discourse all create insider-outsider boundaries through lexical complexity. However,
Jargon can become a form of intellectual gatekeeping, used to obscure rather than clarify. When experts genuinely seek to communicate with broader audiences, they demonstrate mastery by translating complex concepts into accessible language. Those who rely exclusively on jargon may be compensating for uncertain understanding. The certainty trap. Paradoxically, expressions of certainty often correlate inversely with actual expertise. True experts understand the limitations of their knowledge and employ hedging language. The evidence suggests, it appears that, current research indicates. Meanwhile, those with superficial understanding often speak in absolutes. Studies prove, it's obvious that, everyone knows that. This linguistic pattern explains why public debates often feature the most confident voices, rather than the most knowledgeable ones. Certainty performs better rhetorically than nuance, even when nuance more accurately reflects reality. Digital age authority. Social media has democratized the performance of expertise, while simultaneously making verification more difficult. The same linguistic markers that once indicated formal credentials now serve anyone seeking to project authority. Bullet-pointed insights, pseudo-academic language, and confident assertions can quickly gain viral authority regardless of their factual basis. The phrase, "studies show," has become particularly problematic as it invokes scientific authority without providing verifiable evidence. Similarly, the construction, "experts agree," creates consensus where none may exist. Advanced rhetorical concepts. Epistemic modality. Language that expresses degrees of certainty or possibility, crucial for accurate communication about complex topics. Evidentiality. Grammatical markers that indicate the source and reliability of information, underdeveloped in English compared to some languages. Meta-language. Language used to discuss language itself, often employed to demonstrate sophisticated linguistic awareness. Discursive authority. The power to shape conversation through rhetorical positioning rather than formal credentials.
Beyond obvious manipulation lies a sophisticated arsenal of subtle persuasion techniques that shape opinion through seemingly neutral language. These methods are particularly prevalent in marketing, politics, and media, where influence must be achieved without triggering defensive responses. Presupposition and implication. Skilled communicators embed assumptions within their language, making certain ideas appear inevitable or universally accepted. Consider the difference between "when you buy our product" and "if you buy our product." The first presupposes purchase, the second presents it as a choice. Political discourse extensively employs presupposition. As we continue to strengthen the economy, presupposes both that the economy is currently being strengthened and that the speaker is responsible for this improvement. Opposition becomes positioned as resistance to obvious progress rather than legitimate policy disagreement. The false dilemma through language. Binary framing reduces complex issues to simple either-or choices, typically favoring one option over another. Are you part of the solution or part of the problem? Eliminates middle ground and positions dissent as obstructionism. Corporate communications often employ this technique. In today's competitive marketplace, companies must either innovate or fall behind. This framing presents particular business practices as inevitable responses to market forces rather than conscious strategic choices. Temporal manipulation. Language can compress or expand timeframes to serve persuasive purposes.
Immediate action is required, creates artificial urgency, while long-term sustainability pushes consequences into a safely distant future. Marketing exploits temporal psychology through phrases like limited time offer and while supplies last, creating scarcity pressure. Political campaigns use the future of our children to make present sacrifices seem morally necessary. The passive agreement strategy. Rather than asking for explicit consent, sophisticated persuasion seeks to make agreement seem natural and inevitable. I'm sure you'll agree that positions dissent as unreasonable. As we all know, claims universal consensus on debatable points. This technique is particularly effective because it avoids triggering reactance, the psychological resistance to perceived manipulation. By treating agreement as assumed, it becomes socially awkward to disagree. Anchoring through language. The first piece of information presented in any discussion establishes an anchor point against which subsequent information is evaluated. Strategic communicators exploit this by presenting extreme positions first, making more moderate requests seem reasonable by comparison. While we could implement comprehensive changes, we're proposing these modest adjustments, frames significant alterations as reasonable compromises. The phantom extreme option makes the actual proposal appear moderate and sensible. Emotional contagion and linguistic mirroring. Sophisticated persuasion operates at emotional and subconscious levels. Skilled communicators mirror their audience's linguistic patterns, gradually introducing variations that shift perspective. This creates rapport while subtly guiding thought. Consider how effective politicians adapt their speech patterns to different audiences, not just vocabulary and accent, but rhythm, sentence structure, and emotional tone. This linguistic chameleon effect builds trust while maintaining persuasive flexibility. Advanced persuasion terminology. Cognitive dissonance exploitation. Presenting information that conflicts with existing beliefs, then offering resolution through compliance with the persuader's agenda. Semantic satiation. The temporary loss of meaning caused by repetition, sometimes used to drain opposition arguments of emotional force. Hypnotic language patterns. Grammatical structures that bypass critical thinking by overwhelming conscious processing capacity. Social proof manipulation. Using language to create false impressions of consensus or popularity. Case study. Climate change discourse. The evolution of climate change terminology illustrates sophisticated persuasion in action. Global warming became climate change to reduce resistance from those experiencing cold weather. Carbon footprint shifted responsibility from corporations to individuals. Clean coal and natural gas rebranded fossil fuels through positive associations, while environmental advocates employ their own persuasive techniques. Climate crisis increases urgency, renewable energy suggests infinite sustainability, and green jobs promises economic benefit alongside environmental protection. Neither side presents neutral information. Both shape perception through strategic linguistic choices that serve their respective agendas. The digital revolution has fundamentally altered how language functions as a tool of power and persuasion. Online communication creates new forms of linguistic manipulation while amplifying existing techniques through algorithmic distribution and echo chamber effects. The attention economy and language. In digital environments where attention is the primary currency, language evolves to maximize engagement rather than convey information accurately. Clickbait headlines exemplify this transformation. "You won't believe what happened next" prioritizes curiosity over truth, emotional response over rational analysis. This attention-driven environment rewards hyperbole, controversy, and emotional manipulation, while penalizing nuance, complexity, and measured consideration. The linguistic result is a gradual degradation of public discourse, as rational argument becomes economically inefficient. Algorithmic amplification of bias. Search engines and social media platforms don't simply transmit language, they actively shape it through algorithmic selection and ranking. These systems, despite claims of neutrality, embed the biases of their creators and training data into the communication landscape. When algorithms favor engagement over accuracy, they systematically amplify emotionally charged content while suppressing measured analysis. This creates a feedback loop where public discourse becomes increasingly polarized and extreme, not through conscious choice, but through technological mediation. The fragmentation of shared language. Digital communication enables unprecedented linguistic fragmentation. Online communities develop specialized vocabularies, reference points, and communication norms that become increasingly incomprehensible to outsiders. This tribal linguistic evolution strengthens in-group bonds while deepening divisions between communities. Consider how political polarization manifests linguistically online. The same event receives entirely different lexical treatment across partisan spaces. Peaceful protesters versus dangerous mob. Undocumented immigrants versus illegal aliens. Reproductive rights versus unborn children. These aren't just different perspectives, they're different linguistic realities that make cross-group communication increasingly difficult. Advanced digital communication concepts. Viral semantics. How meaning spreads and mutates through digital networks, often divorced from original context. Mimetic evolution. The process by which ideas adapt and survive through digital transmission, following patterns similar to biological evolution. Platform-specific linguistics. How different digital platforms shape language use through their affordances and constraints. Computational propaganda. The use of algorithms and automated systems to manipulate public opinion through strategic language deployment. Having explored various forms of linguistic manipulation, let's focus on developing the analytical skills necessary to identify and resist these techniques, while using language more ethically and effectively ourselves. The meta-linguistic perspective. Critical language awareness begins with recognizing that all communication choices carry ideological implications. There is no neutral language. Every word selection, grammatical construction, and rhetorical strategy serves particular interests and worldviews. This doesn't mean all language use is equally manipulative or that communication is impossible. Rather, it suggests that conscious speakers should consider the broader implications of their linguistic choices and strive for transparency about their perspectives and limitations. Questions for critical analysis. When encountering any form of communication, consider these analytical questions: agency and responsibility. Who or what is positioned as the agent of action? How are responsibility and blame distributed through grammatical choices? Inclusion and exclusion. What voices and perspectives are amplified or marginalized? How does vocabulary choice signal intended audience? Temporal framing. How are past, present, and future constructed? What assumptions about causation and inevitability are embedded in temporal language? Emotional appeals. How does the language attempt to shape emotional response? What feelings are encouraged or discouraged? Certainty and doubt. How certain or uncertain does the speaker claim to be? How does this match the complexity of the topic being discussed? Ethical communication practices. Developing critical awareness should lead to more ethical communication practices. This means acknowledging the limitations of your perspective and knowledge, using clear, accessible language when precision doesn't require complexity, making your assumptions and biases explicit rather than hiding them, avoiding linguistic techniques designed to bypass critical thinking, considering the power dynamics inherent in any communication situation. The ongoing challenge. Language analysis is not a skill you master once and apply mechanically thereafter. Context, power dynamics, and communication norms constantly evolve, requiring continuous critical engagement with linguistic choices, both your own and others. The goal isn't to become cynical about all communication, but to develop the sophisticated awareness necessary for navigating an increasingly complex linguistic landscape while maintaining your own ethical standards and analytical independence.
Let's consolidate today's exploration by reviewing sophisticated vocabulary for discussing language and power, then considering how to apply these insights in professional and academic contexts. Essential terminology for language analysis. Discourse analysis. The study of language use in social contexts, particularly how power relationships are constructed and maintained through communication. Hegemonic discourse. Dominant ways of speaking and thinking that maintain existing power structures by appearing natural and inevitable. Linguistic ideology. Beliefs about language that serve to rationalize and perpetuate social hierarchies. Performativity. The concept that language doesn't just describe reality, but actively creates it through repeated use. Intersectionality. The recognition that multiple identity categories interact to create complex patterns of privilege and marginalization reflected in language use. Epistemic injustice. The wrong done to someone in their capacity as a knower, often through dismissing their credibility due to linguistic prejudice. Professional application. In professional contexts, this awareness enables you to recognize when your own linguistic choices might exclude or marginalize others. Identify manipulation techniques in business communications and respond appropriately. Communicate complex ideas accessibly without sacrificing precision. Navigate code switching requirements while maintaining personal authenticity. Advocate for clearer, more inclusive communication practices in your workplace.
Academic and intellectual development. For academic and intellectual pursuits, critical language awareness helps you evaluate sources more effectively by analyzing their rhetorical strategies. Construct arguments that acknowledge their own limitations and perspectives. Engage with complex texts by identifying underlying assumptions and ideologies. Contribute to more nuanced and ethical scholarly discourse. Bridge academic and public communication more effectively. Continued learning. Language and power intersect with numerous academic disciplines: sociolinguistics, critical discourse analysis, rhetoric, anthropology, sociology, and political science. Each field offers additional tools for understanding how language shapes human experience and social organization. Consider exploring works by scholars like Norman Fairclough, Ruth Wodak, James Paul Gee, and Toon van Dyke for deeper engagement with critical discourse analysis. Their research provides frameworks for systematic analysis of language in social contexts. We've journeyed through the hidden landscape of linguistic power, examining how language shapes thought, reinforces hierarchies, and can be wielded for both empowerment and manipulation. From euphemisms that sanitize uncomfortable realities to digital algorithms that amplify bias, we've seen how communication is never neutral, but always serves particular interests and worldviews. The sophisticated vocabulary and analytical frameworks we've explored today aren't merely academic exercises, they're practical tools for navigating an increasingly complex communicative environment. In a world where information warfare and linguistic manipulation are increasingly sophisticated, critical language awareness becomes a form of intellectual self-defense. But awareness alone isn't sufficient. We must also commit to ethical communication practices that acknowledge our own limitations, make our assumptions explicit, and strive for clarity and inclusion rather than obfuscation and exclusion. Your challenge moving forward is to apply this critical lens consistently to your own language choices as much as to others. Notice how you use euphemisms, passive voice, and persuasive techniques. Consider whose voices your communication amplifies or marginalizes. Question the assumptions embedded in your most natural expressions. Language is power, but it's power that we all participate in creating and maintaining. By becoming more conscious of how this power operates, we can work toward communication that serves human flourishing rather than human domination. Thank you for joining me on this intellectual exploration. Until next time, remain curious, stay critical, and remember that every word you choose shapes the world we inhabit together.
Welcome to what I consider the pinnacle of English listening practice. I'm Olivia.
Welcome to the English Pod community. I'm Blake. If you are new here, this is the place where we help you improve your English every day with practical listening practice. Today, our topic is self-discipline for success. This is very important if you want to reach your goals in life. Let me start with a story about a man named James. James wanted to become a successful writer. Every morning, he woke up early and wrote for 2 hours before going to work. Sometimes, he did not feel like writing. He felt tired or distracted. But he used self-discipline to keep going. He did not wait for motivation. He just followed his plan. After 2 years of this routine, James published his first book. The book became popular, and he could finally leave his day job. James's success came because of self-discipline, not luck. Now, you might ask, what is self-discipline exactly? Self-discipline means doing what you need to do, even when you do not feel like it. It means controlling your actions and staying focused on your goals. Think about learning English. If you want to improve, you need to practice regularly. Some days you might be tired or busy, but if you have self-discipline, you will still study and practice. That is the key to progress. Let me give you another example. Sarah is an engineer who wants to learn English to get a better job. She decided to study English for 1 hour every evening after work. At first, it was hard to keep this habit. She felt lazy sometimes, but Sarah reminded herself that this was important for her future. She set a small goal every week, like learning 10 new words or watching 1 English video. After 6 months, Sarah's English improved a lot, and she passed a job interview in English. Her self-discipline helped her open new opportunities. You can start building self-discipline today. One way is to create a daily routine. For example, choose a time for your English practice and stick to it. Another way is to set clear goals. Write down what you want to achieve, such as speaking more fluently or understanding movies in English. When you have a goal, it is easier to stay disciplined. Sometimes it helps to remove distractions. When you study, turn off your phone or stay away from social media. This focus will make your practice more effective. Also, celebrate small successes. When you complete a lesson or finish reading a book, reward yourself with something simple, like a short break or your favorite snack. This positive feeling keeps you motivated. Let me tell you about Mark and his wife, Anna. Mark wanted to run a marathon. At first, he did not have much experience running, but Anna supported him by joining his practice sessions. They woke up early together every day and ran. Some days were difficult, but Mark's self-discipline and Anna's support helped him. After months of training, Mark finished his first marathon. This story shows that self-discipline can be stronger with support from loved ones. Remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone has days when they feel weak or distracted. The important thing is to keep trying and not give up. Over time, these small efforts create big results. To practice your English today, try writing about one goal you have and how you will use self-discipline to reach it. You can also listen to this episode again and repeat the sentences to improve your pronunciation. Let's continue with more ideas about self-discipline and success. Imagine a young woman named Emily. Emily wanted to improve her health. She decided to eat better and exercise every day. At first, it was hard. She felt tired after work and wanted to rest. But Emily used self-discipline. She prepared healthy meals in advance and made a schedule for her workouts. Slowly, she built a new habit. After a few months, Emily felt stronger and more energetic. Her health improved because she stayed disciplined even when it was difficult. Self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. When you practice English every day, you train your brain to learn faster. When you follow your plans, you build confidence. For example, Tom is learning to speak English better. He sets a small goal to speak with a friend for 10 minutes every day. Sometimes Tom feels shy, but he reminds himself that practice helps him improve. After a few weeks, Tom notices that speaking English feels easier. His self-discipline is helping him grow. One useful tip is to break big tasks into small steps. If your goal is to read a long English book, do not try to read it all at once. Read a few pages each day. This makes your goal less scary and easier to reach. Susan wanted to write a report in English for her job. She divided the work into smaller parts. First research, then writing 1 paragraph a day, and finally editing. This plan helped Susan finish her report on time and with good quality. Sometimes people think they need to wait for the perfect moment to start, but the truth is, the perfect moment may never come. John wanted to improve his English pronunciation. He waited until he had a free week, but the week never came. Finally, John decided to practice for 10 minutes every day. This small action changed his progress. He learned that starting now, even with little time, is better than waiting. Self-discipline also helps us handle challenges. For example, Rachel had a busy schedule at work and home. She wanted to study English but felt tired in the evening. Instead of stopping, she used self-discipline to study a little in the morning before work. This change helped Rachel keep her English practice without losing energy. She adapted her plan to fit her life. Let's talk about support. Sometimes it is easier to be disciplined when we share our goals with someone. David told his wife, Laura, about his plan to learn English. Laura encouraged him and sometimes practiced English with him. Having someone who understands and supports your goals can make self-discipline easier. You are not alone on your journey. Self-discipline also means learning to say no. It means choosing your goals over distractions. For example, Michael wanted to improve his English vocabulary. When his friends invited him to hang out, he said no because he had to study. It was not easy, but he knew that this choice was important for his future. Saying no sometimes is part of being disciplined. To build self-discipline, it helps to keep track of your progress. You can write in a notebook or use an app. Seeing your progress motivates you to continue. For example, Anna kept a calendar where she marked each day she practiced English. When she saw many marks in a row, she felt proud and did not want to break the chain. Let me share one last story for today. Peter is a businessman. He wakes up every day at 5 a.m. to plan his work and study English for 30 minutes. Sometimes he feels tired and wants to sleep more, but Peter knows that self-discipline brings him closer to his dreams. His wife Lisa supports him by preparing breakfast early so he can start his day on time. Peter's routine is not easy, but it helps him succeed in business and improve his English. Remember, self-discipline is a choice you make every day. It helps you grow, learn, and reach your goals. Practice it a little bit every day, and you will see big changes in your life. Sometimes, self-discipline means planning for the future, not just focusing on what feels good now. For example, Olivia wanted to save money to buy a house. She could have spent her money on small things every day, but she chose to save a part of her salary each month. It was not easy to say no to some fun purchases, but Olivia stayed disciplined. After a few years, she had enough money for a down payment on a house. Her patience and self-discipline made this possible. Another important point is to learn from mistakes. Self-discipline does not mean you will be perfect every day. Sometimes you might miss a study session or skip a task. The key is to not give up. David missed 3 days of his English practice because of work. Instead of feeling bad, he made a plan to catch up and keep going. He knew that one mistake is not failure. This positive attitude helps build stronger self-discipline. Self-discipline also helps you become more responsible. When you commit to a task and follow through, people trust you more. For example, Anna promised her manager she would finish a project on time. She made a schedule, worked hard every day, and finished the project early. Her manager was very happy, and Anna got a promotion. This shows how self-discipline can improve your work and your reputation. Let's talk about motivation. Motivation is important, but it comes and goes. Self-discipline helps you keep moving even when motivation is low. For example, Mark wanted to learn new skills for his job. Sometimes he felt excited and practiced a lot. Other times, he felt tired and wanted to stop. But Mark's self-discipline kept him practicing every day. This consistent effort helped Mark get better at his job. It is also helpful to remind yourself why your goals are important. When you feel like giving up, think about your reasons. For example, Emma wanted to learn English to talk to her husbands. family better. Remembering this made her study harder. Your why is your motivation source, and self-discipline turns that motivation into action. Some people find it easier to use rewards to stay disciplined. For example, John studied English for 5 days in a row. He rewarded himself with a favorite meal or a relaxing walk. These small rewards help make learning English more enjoyable and create positive habits. Let's not forget rest. Self-discipline does not mean working all the time without breaks. Rest is important to stay healthy and focused. For example, Sarah works hard during the day but takes short breaks to relax. This balance helps her stay productive and avoid burnout. Now, let me share a story about Michael and his wife, Kate. Michael wanted to run a small business. He worked hard every day after his regular job. Kate helped by managing the home and encouraging him. Sometimes Michael felt tired, but his self-discipline kept him going. After 1 year, his business started to grow. This shows how self-discipline, combined with support, can lead to success. If you want to build self-discipline, start with small steps. Choose one habit to improve. For example, practice English for 15 minutes every day. When this becomes a routine, add another habit. Over time, these small habits will lead to big changes. Let me tell you about a man named Robert. Robert is a teacher. He wanted to improve his English so he could speak better with his students. Every day, Robert set a time for his English study. He chose to study for 30 minutes after dinner. At first it was difficult because he was tired after a long day. Sometimes he wanted to watch the news or rest instead of studying. But Robert reminded himself of his goal. He knew that if he wanted to get better, he had to keep practicing. After 6 months of this routine, Robert's English improved a lot. His students noticed, and he felt more confident speaking in class. This shows that self-discipline is more important than feeling motivated every day. Many people believe that motivation is the key to success. Motivation is the feeling that makes you want to do something. But motivation comes and goes. One day, you may feel very motivated to learn English or work on a project. The next day, you may feel tired or distracted. That is why self-discipline is more reliable. Self-discipline helps you keep going, even when motivation is low. It is like having a strong engine that keeps running even when the road is difficult. Another example is Lisa. Lisa wanted to lose weight and be healthier. She made a plan to exercise for 20 minutes every morning. She knew that some days would be hard. Sometimes she felt cold or sleepy in the morning. But she told herself that her health was more important. She put on her shoes and went for a walk every day. After 3 months, Lisa lost weight and felt more energetic. Her self-discipline changed her life. Breaking big goals into small steps helps build self-discipline. For example, if you want to learn 1,000 new English words, it can feel overwhelming. But if you learn just 5 new words every day, it becomes easier. After a year, you will have learned 1,225 words. This shows that small, consistent actions can create big results. Sarah, a student from London, used this method. She wrote 5 new words on a card every day and practiced them. After a few months, Sarah's vocabulary grew quickly, and she felt more comfortable reading books in English. Sometimes, you need to change your environment to help your self-discipline. For example, if you want to study English, find a quiet place without distractions. Turn off your phone or put it away. This will help you focus better. Michael, who works in an office, found that studying in the library helped him concentrate more than studying at home. He used this change to improve his English faster. Self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone makes mistakes or misses a day. What matters is how you respond. If you miss your study time, do not be too hard on yourself. Just start again the next day. For example, Anna missed 2 days of practice because she was sick. She felt bad, but did not give up. She returned to her study plan and kept going. This attitude helped Anna keep her self-discipline strong. It is also important to have clear goals. When you know what you want, it is easier to stay disciplined. John wanted to pass an English exam to get a better job. He set a date for the exam and made a study plan. Every week, John checked his progress. This helped him stay focused. On the exam day, John felt ready and passed with a good score. His clear goal gave him the discipline to study hard. Support from family or friends can also help. David told his wife Emma about his goal to learn English. Emma encouraged him every day. Sometimes she helped by practicing English with him. This support made it easier for David to stay disciplined. When you share your goals with others, they can help you stay on track. Self-discipline means making good choices every day. It means saying no to distractions or bad habits. For example, if you want to save money, you might say no to buying something you do not need. If you want to improve your English, you might say no to watching TV or playing games during your study time. These small choices add up to big success. Another way to build self-discipline is to use a schedule or calendar. Write down what you want to do each day. Check off your tasks when you finish them. This helps you see your progress and stay motivated. Susan used this method. She kept a notebook where she wrote her daily English practice. When she saw many check marks in a row, she felt proud and wanted to keep going. Rest is also important for self-discipline. If you do not rest well, you will feel tired and find it harder to concentrate. Sarah makes sure to sleep 8 hours every night. She also takes short breaks during her study time. This helps her stay focused and avoid feeling burned out. Let me share a story about Paul and his wife, Mary. Paul wanted to start a small business. He worked long hours every day after his job. Mary supported him by helping at home and encouraging him. Some days Paul felt tired and wanted to stop, but his self-discipline kept him working. After 1 year, his business grew and he was very happy. This story shows that self-discipline with support can lead to success even in hard times. Self-discipline is a habit you build over time. It is not easy at first, but it gets easier with practice. Start with one small habit, like reading an English article every day. When this becomes a routine, add more habits. Over time, these small actions create big changes. Remember, success is not about being perfect. It is about trying every day and not giving up. Self-discipline helps you do this. Keep your goals clear, plan your actions, and stay focused. Every step you take moves you closer to your dreams. If you want to practice your English today, try writing a short plan for your self-discipline. Write what goal you want to achieve and what actions you will take every day. This simple step can help you start your journey to success. Let me tell you about David. David is a young man who works in an office. He wants to improve his English so he can get a promotion. David decided to study English every morning for 1 hour before going to work. The first few days were hard. He felt tired and sometimes wanted to sleep more. But David kept his promise to himself. He made a plan and followed it. After a few weeks, studying English in the morning became a habit. He did not have to think about it. It was just part of his day. This habit helped David improve his English and get closer to his goal. Now, think about why self-discipline is difficult for many people. The problem is that our brain likes comfort and easy tasks. When you want to study or work on something difficult, your brain tries to avoid it. It wants to relax or do something fun instead. This is natural, but self-discipline means that you do not listen to these easy feelings. You decide to do what is hard because it will help you later. It is like training your brain to work even when it wants to rest. One way to build self-discipline is to create clear rules for yourself. For example, Mark wants to read more books in English. He makes a rule: no phone or TV for 1 hour every day. During that time, he only reads English books. This rule helps Mark avoid distractions. It makes his study time more effective. Sometimes people make their goals too big. This can cause them to give up. For example, Emma wanted to learn 500 new words in 1 month. This was too much. She got tired and stopped studying. Later, Emma changed her plan. She decided to learn 10 words every day. This smaller goal was easier. She could keep it for a long time. After some months, Emma learned more than 500 words and felt proud. Another important idea is to plan for problems. Things do not always go as planned. You might get sick, be busy, or feel tired. This is normal. Self-discipline means you keep going even when things are hard. For example, John was sick for 2 days. He missed his English study, but John did not stop. He made a new plan to study a little extra when he felt better. This way, he did not lose progress. Self-discipline also helps you manage your time well. Time is one of the most valuable things you have. When you control your time, you control your success. Susan works full-time and takes care of her children. She wanted to study English, but she was very busy. Susan made a schedule. She studied English during lunch breaks and before bed. Even 20 minutes every day helped her improve. Her good time management showed strong self-discipline. It is good to have support from others. Tell your family or friends about your goals. They can encourage you and remind you to keep going. For example, Peter wanted to run every morning. His wife Anna joined him for the runs. This made the activity easier and more fun. Support helps keep self-discipline strong. Sometimes, you may feel that self-discipline is boring. Doing the same thing every day can feel repetitive. But habits are important for success. When you build good habits, they become natural. You do not need much energy to do them. They help you move forward without much effort. James, who wants to become a doctor, studies English medical terms every day. At first it was hard, but now it is a part of his routine. Self-discipline is also about saying no. Saying no means choosing your long-term goals over short-term pleasure. For example, Michael wanted to save money for a trip. His friends invited him to eat out every weekend. Michael said no to save money. This was hard at first, but it helped him reach his goal faster. Rest is important for good self-discipline. When you are tired, it is harder to focus. Take care of your body by sleeping well and eating healthy food. For example, Anna sleeps 8 hours every night. She also takes short breaks during study time. This helps her stay fresh and motivated. Setting rewards can help keep self-discipline. For example, after studying for a week without missing a day, Sarah allowed herself to buy a small gift. These rewards make working hard more enjoyable and encourage you to keep going. Let me share a story about Paul and his wife, Lisa. Paul wanted to start a new business. He worked many hours every day, even after his regular job. Lisa supported him by helping with home duties and encouraging him. Sometimes, Paul felt tired and wanted to stop, but his self-discipline kept him working hard. After 1 year, his business was successful. This shows that self-discipline, along with support, leads to success. It is important to keep track of your progress. Writing down what you do every day helps you see how far you have come. For example, Emma writes her English practice in a notebook. Seeing her progress motivates her to keep going. Remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone faces challenges and sometimes makes mistakes. The key is to keep trying. Every day you practice self-discipline, you become stronger. If you want to start today, choose one small goal. Maybe you want to practice English for 15 minutes every day. Make a simple plan and follow it. This small step can change your life. Keep your goals clear, be patient, and stay focused. Self-discipline is the path to success. Every effort you make brings you closer to your dreams. Thank you for your patience. Let's continue and explore self-discipline even more deeply. Self-discipline is a very important skill that helps people reach their goals in life. It is not about doing something only when you feel like it. Instead, it means doing what you need to do, even when you do not feel like doing it. It is about making good choices and sticking to them every day. This is what helps people achieve success in school, work, and life. Let me tell you a story about a man named Henry. Henry wanted to learn English so he could find a better job. Every morning, he woke up at 6 o'clock and studied English for 1 hour before going to work. Some days, Henry was very tired. Sometimes, he wanted to sleep longer or just relax. But Henry knew that if he wanted to improve, he had to keep practicing. He did not wait for motivation. He just followed his plan every day. After a year, Henry's English was much better. He passed the job interview and got the job he wanted. Henry's success came from his self-discipline. Many people think motivation is the most important thing. Motivation is the feeling that makes you want to do something, but motivation is not always strong. One day, you can feel very motivated. The next day, you may feel tired or distracted. Self-discipline is stronger because it helps you keep going even when motivation is low. It helps you make progress every day, little by little. Another example is a woman named Emma. Emma wanted to be healthier. She decided to exercise every morning for 20 minutes. At first, it was hard because she did not like waking up early. Some days she felt lazy and wanted to stay in bed, but Emma used self-discipline. She made a rule for herself to get up and exercise no matter what. After a few months, exercising became a habit. She felt stronger and more energetic. Emma's self-discipline changed her life. It is helpful to break big goals into small steps. For example, if you want to learn 1,000 new English words, this can feel very difficult. But if you learn 5 new words every day, it is easier. After 1 year, you will have learned more than 1,800 words. This is a good way to stay motivated and disciplined. Sarah, a student, used this method. She wrote 5 new words on a card every day and practiced them. After a few months, Sarah's vocabulary grew, and she felt more confident. Sometimes, changing your environment can help your self-discipline. For example, Michael wanted to study English but found it hard to focus at home. He started going to the library to study because it was quiet and had fewer distractions. This helped Michael concentrate and study better. Finding a good place to work can make a big difference. Self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone makes mistakes or misses a day sometimes. What matters is how you respond. If you miss a day of study, do not give up. Just start again the next day. Anna missed a few days of English practice because she was sick. She felt bad, but did not stop studying. She continued and kept improving. This is the attitude that builds strong self-discipline. Having clear goals helps you stay disciplined. John wanted to pass an English exam. He set a date for the exam and made a study plan. Every week he checked his progress. This helped John stay focused and work hard. On exam day, John felt ready and passed. Having clear goals helps you make good plans and stay motivated. Support from family and friends can also help you stay disciplined. David told his wife Emma about his goal to learn English. Emma encouraged him and practiced English with him. This made it easier for David to keep studying. When you share your goals, others can help you stay on track. Self-discipline means making good choices every day. It means saying no to distractions. For example, if you want to save money, you might say no to buying things you do not need. If you want to improve your English, you might say no to watching TV during study time. These small choices help you reach your goals faster. Using a schedule or calendar can help build self-discipline. Write down what you want to do each day and check off tasks when you finish. This helps you see your progress and stay motivated. Susan used this method. She wrote her daily English practice in a notebook. Seeing her progress helped her keep going. Rest is important for self-discipline. When you are tired, it is harder to focus. Sleep well and eat healthy food to stay energized. Anna sleeps 8 hours every night and takes short breaks when studying. This helps her stay fresh and work better. Let me tell you about Paul and his wife Lisa. Paul wanted to start a small business. He worked hard every day after his regular job. Lisa helped by managing home tasks and encouraging him. Sometimes Paul felt tired but kept working. After 1 year, his business grew. This shows how self-discipline and support can lead to success. Keep track of your progress by writing what you do every day. Emma writes her English practice in a notebook. Seeing her progress motivates her to continue. Remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone faces challenges and makes mistakes. The key is to keep trying. Every day you practice self-discipline, you become stronger. To start today, choose one small goal. Maybe practice English for 15 minutes every day. Make a simple plan and follow it. This small step can change your life. Now, I will talk about self-discipline in more detail, using simple language and easy examples. Self-discipline means controlling yourself to do what is necessary, even if you do not feel like doing it. It is the habit of working hard and not giving up, no matter what happens. Self-discipline is very important for success in all parts of life, such as work, school, health, and learning new skills like English. Let me share a story about a man named Thomas. Thomas wanted to learn English to get a better job. He decided to study English every day for 30 minutes. At first, Thomas found it difficult to keep this habit. Some days he felt tired after work. Other days, he wanted to spend time with friends or watch television. But Thomas knew that practicing English every day was important for his future. He used self-discipline to follow his study plan. After 6 months, Thomas was able to speak and understand English much better. His hard work paid off because he did not stop when it was hard. Many people think motivation is the main reason people succeed. Motivation is the feeling that makes you want to do something. But motivation changes all the time. Some days, you feel motivated and ready to work hard. Other days, you feel tired or lazy. Self-discipline is more important because it helps you keep working, even on days when motivation is low. It is like a machine that keeps running without stopping. For example, Anna wanted to lose weight. She made a plan to exercise every morning for 20 minutes. At first, Anna found it hard to wake up early. Sometimes she wanted to stay in bed and sleep more. But Anna was disciplined. She reminded herself that exercise was important for her health. She followed her plan every day. After 3 months, Anna's body became stronger and healthier. Her self-discipline helped her reach her goal. Breaking big goals into small steps makes self-discipline easier. For example, if you want to learn 1,000 new English words, this can feel very hard. But if you learn 5 new words every day, it is possible. After 1 year, you will have learned over 1,100 words. This is a good way to keep going without feeling overwhelmed. Sarah, a student, used this method. She wrote 5 new words on cards every day and practiced them. After a few months, Sarah's vocabulary grew a lot and she felt more confident. Changing your environment can help you stay disciplined. For example, Michael wanted to study English but found it hard to focus at home. He started going to the library to study because it was quiet and had fewer distractions. This change helped Michael concentrate and study better. Finding a good place to work can make a big difference. Self-discipline does not mean being perfect. Everyone makes mistakes or misses a day sometimes. What matters is what you do next. If you miss a day of study, do not stop completely. Just start again the next day. Anna missed a few days of practice because she was sick. She felt bad, but did not give up. She continued and kept improving. This is the attitude that builds strong self-discipline. Having clear goals helps you stay disciplined. John wanted to pass an English exam. He set a date for the exam and made a study plan. Every week, he checked his progress. This helped John. stay focused, and work hard. On exam day, John felt ready and passed. Having clear goals helps you make good plans and stay motivated. Support from family and friends is important. David told his wife Emma about his goal to learn English. Emma encouraged him and practiced English with him. This made it easier for David to keep studying. When you share your goals, others can help you stay on track. Self-discipline means making good choices every day. It means saying no to distractions. For example, if you want to save money, you might say no to buying things you do not need. If you want to improve your English, you might say no to watching TV during study time. These small choices help you reach your goals faster. Using a schedule or calendar helps build self-discipline. Write down what you want to do each day and check off tasks when you finish. This helps you see your progress and stay motivated. Susan used this method. She wrote her daily English practice in a notebook. Seeing her progress helped her keep going. Rest is important for self-discipline. When you are tired, it is harder to focus. Sleep well and eat healthy food to stay energized. Anna sleeps 8 hours every night and takes short breaks when studying. This helps her stay fresh and work better. Let me tell you about Paul and his wife, Lisa. Paul wanted to start a small business. He worked hard every day after his regular job. Lisa helped by managing home tasks and encouraging him. Sometimes Paul felt tired but kept working. After 1 year, his business grew. This shows how self-discipline and support can lead to success. Keep track of your progress by writing what you do every day. Emma writes her English practice in a notebook. Seeing her progress motivates her to continue. Remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect. Everyone faces challenges and makes mistakes. The key is to keep trying. Every day you practice self-discipline, you become stronger. To start today, choose one small goal. Maybe practice English for 15 minutes every day. Make a simple plan and follow it. This small step can change your life. Let us continue with a detailed and clear explanation about self-discipline and how it leads to success. Self-discipline is one of the most important skills you can develop in life. It means you make yourself do what you need to do even if you do not feel like doing it. It means choosing the right path and following it every day. Without self-discipline, it is hard to achieve your goals because life often brings challenges and distractions. Let me tell you about a man named James. James is an office worker who wanted to improve his English so he could get a better job. He made a plan to study English for 45 minutes every morning before work. At first, this was very difficult for James. Some mornings he felt tired and wanted to sleep longer. Sometimes he felt distracted and did not want to study. But James knew that if he wanted to succeed, he had to keep studying every day. He always used self-discipline to make himself study. After 6 months, James's English improved a lot. He was able to talk with his manager and coworkers in English better than before. His hard work and discipline helped him grow. Many people think that motivation is the most important factor for success. Motivation is the feeling that makes you want to do something. But motivation changes all the time. One day, you may feel very motivated and ready to work hard. The next day, you may feel tired or bored. Self-discipline is stronger because it helps you work even when motivation is low. It is like a car that keeps moving even when the road is difficult. Another story is about a woman named Emma. Emma wanted to be healthier and stronger. She decided to exercise every day for 30 minutes. At first, Emma found it hard to wake up early. Sometimes, she wanted to sleep more. But Emma used self-discipline. She reminded herself why exercising was important for her health. She made a rule to exercise every morning, no matter what. After a few months, exercising became a habit for Emma. She felt more energetic and happier. Her self-discipline helped her change her life. Breaking big goals into small steps is very helpful. If you want to learn 1,000 new English words, this can seem very hard. But if you learn 5 new words every day, this is possible. After 1 year, you will have learned over 1,800 words. This method makes your goal easier and less scary. Sarah, a student, used